Hello guys, I'm Fritz and this lesson is on composite functions. We will start by looking at what is a composite function. A composite function is defined as a function of another function. A composite function is a function that depends on another function. Let's take this funny example. Cindy lives in London and Joan lives in Los Angeles. Their wedding is to take place here in Ontario, Canada, and for the wedding to take place, they must be in Ontario and in time. So Cindy has to travel to Ontario and Jones to Ontario from Los Angeles. Now, their wedding actually depends on 1. Cindy has to travel here to Ontario in time, and Jones has to also travel here to Ontario in time. This wedding is like a function depending on 2 functions: Cindy traveling in time to Ontario and Jones traveling in time to Ontario. So it depends on these 2 functions. It is therefore a composite function. There are many other examples. I just like to take this funny one to make the lesson a bit funny. So a composite function, as we have said before, is a function that depends on another function. Okay, let us consider G and F to be 2 functions. We can obtain the following composite functions using G and F. We can obtain GF, that is G of F. We can obtain F of G. We can obtain G of G. We can obtain F of G of F. We can obtain F of G inverse. We can obtain F inverse of G. And the list is endless. We can equally have sums and differences. For example, F plus G can equally have F minus G, 2F plus 3G, and so on. The following notations are the same. F of G is the same as F of G of X. And this is the same as F of G of X, can be written that way, and this is another way to write it, and this is the last way. So it can be written in any of these other forms. All of them actually mean the same thing. So when you see notations, don't be stressed by them. Where F of X actually means, take this point into consideration, F of G of X means G operates first, or do G first. In fact, the last function that is mentioned is the first one that will be done. F of G means do G first. G of F means do F first. Let's take some examples. These examples will help us to master the concept, but you must have to practice more. We are given the following functions: F of X to be equal to X plus 2 and G of X equals 5X. Find F of G of X. So F of G of X to be equal to, you have F. Now they have replaced X by G of X, so it becomes F of G of X. But I know the value of G of X to be equal to 5X, so I'm going to replace G of X in that function by 5X, and this becomes F of 5X. So I'll now go to the function F and replace X by 5X. So my X now becomes 5X, and I continue with plus 2. So this gives me F of G of X. Let's take a second example. We have to look for G of F of X. G of F of X means do F first. So G of F of X will be equal to G. Instead of writing X, I'm going to put F of X. So G of F of X. But we know the value of F of X to be X plus 2. So I'm going to replace F of X by X plus 2. And I will now substitute this value in the function G. The function G is 5X. So instead of writing 5X, I'll write 5 times this value in brackets. So 5 times, instead of writing X, I'll write X plus 2. So 5 times X plus 2 gives us 5 times X, 5X plus 5 times 2 gives us 10. So G of F of X equals 5X plus 10. Let's take another example, F of X. So F of X is the same as F of X. But the value of F of X is X plus 2. And this will be equal to, please say it with me, X plus 2 plus 2. We know that F of X is X plus 2, but I'm going to replace that X in F of X by X plus 2, and I'll continue with plus 2, as you can see in blue. So simplifying will give us X plus 4. A fourth example, G of F of 5. G of f of 5 means we should first of all look for f of 5. So this will be equal to G of f of 5. But what will be f of 5? F of 5 will be equal to 5 plus 2. So this will give us G into 5 plus 2 because f of x is x plus 2. So f of 5 is 5 plus 2. So this will give us the function G of 7. So my G of x is equal to 5x. So my G of 7 will be equal to 5 times 7. Please, not 57. 5 times 7. Because some students always make this mistake and write 57. 5x means 5 times x. Are we together? Alright, so this gives us 5 times 7, which is 35. Not 57, but 5 times 7. And what we have something like G of f inverse of x. In our previous lessons, we looked at the inverse of a function. So the first thing we have to look for here is the inverse function f inverse of x. But we know that f inverse of x is equal to x minus 2. Because the function f of x is x plus 2, so the inverse is x minus 2. So instead of writing f inverse of x, I'm going to write x minus 2 because that's the inverse of the function f of x. And this will give us g, which is 5x. Instead of writing 5x, I'll write 5 into x minus 2. And this will give us 5 times x, 5x minus 5 times 2, which is 10. So to be a genius, you need to solve more problems to understand and grasp the concept. Please look for more questions and solve. And if you do not understand the video, you can watch over and over again. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe, and we have many other videos on composite functions, polynomials, quadratics, and so on. Welcome, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye.